meet you.
Yes, good to finally meet you too. I know, right? I was telling him a little bit. I was like, yeah, it's been, God, what, a month or so of just like a little bit of emailing back and forth? Yeah. All right. So I'll kind of start off with a little bit of an intro and then we'll just roll right into it. How's that sound?
All right. Awesome.
All right. So today I am here with current AEW star AQA. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Good to hear. All right. So first, let's kick it off with what initially made you want to become a pro wrestler? Was this something you always wanted to kind of do, or is this something you discovered later in life?
It's something I discovered when I was 10 years old, like out of the blue. So my grandfather, huge fan of it, got my family into it, but of course, like my aunt and uncles and mom, they grew all out of it. But I didn't. So I saw it when I was 10. I can't remember for the life of me what match it was, but all I know is that it involved a top rope suplex and a big loud noise, and I was like, I gotta do this with my life. I don't know why, but I did, and the next day, I got on my trampoline, and I just started teaching myself stuff. I don't recommend that. That is terrible advice. No one do that. But I just started teaching myself stuff that I saw, and I fell in love with it, and I told my family, like, this is what I'm going to do in my life. And, of course, at 10 years old, no one believed that you've chosen your career, but they were supportive and everything, but I didn't think they had any idea that I would do my high school papers on it. I did my college papers on it. Anytime I got a chance to talk about wrestling, I did it, and so that's how I ended up here now.
Yeah, sounds a little bit of a familiar story to me. I'm the same way. I'm kind of like in the process of discovering different gyms and trying to figure out what I want to do, and I'm currently in high school. I'm a senior, so right afterwards I plan on moving out and finding a gym and starting. Yeah, I'm excited. All right, so you kind of mentioned you were around 10. At the time, who were some of your biggest inspirations, if you had any?
So I've had quite a few. So the biggest one at that time, which made me want to become a wrestler, was Triple H. I saw him come out. He had the water going on. He just looked real like just, I'll say bad A because I know it's a high school thing. But he just looked really bad A. You know what I mean? I was like, I want to be like that guy. He's really cool. But he was also coming back at the time where Booker T was coming like at the end of his King Booker gimmick. And so Triple H made me want to become a wrestler, but Booker T made me want to entertain. It was like, oh my God, like I want to be able to grasp everyone's attention just like this. And then he had Queen Sharmella. She had the big pompous, grandiose like entrance and introduction for him. And then she was just always walking around like, I'm the queen and I'm better than everyone. I was like, yes, like I want to be like these people. And on the female side, it was like Mickie James, Beth Phoenix, Natalya. I kind of like gravitated towards them because I just like their wrestling style. It was a little bit different. And on the male side of things, other than the two I've mentioned, it was the Hardy Boys, which for them to be in AEW now, and like I keep my cool, like, okay, it's the Hardys, but on the inside, I'm like, it's the Hardys over here because they influenced my style, obviously. Yeah. Them, like Edge and AJ Styles, like they were big influences in my career, and also Lita, of course, because like she was the only female that was doing the things that I do now, just flying around the ring. So I'm like, man, like if I'm going to become a pro wrestler, like I want to find a way to incorporate all of them into the way that I wrestle. So those are my inspirations.
Awesome. Give me 1 second. All right. So you kind of mentioned a little bit on Booker T, and for those who don't know, you were actually trained by the legendary WWE Hall of Famer Booker T. Could you speak a little bit more on how that was, how you eventually met Booker? Were you kind of starstruck? How was all that?
So how I got involved with reality of wrestling was it was my senior year of college. And I was just like, you know what, this college thing is kind of always going to be here. But will my dreams and aspirations, will they always be here? I don't know. So I found a fantasy camp in the summer of 2017. And I was like, all right, this is my chance. If I like it, I'm going to stay and pursue this career. But if I, honestly, if I suck and I show no potential, back to Troy University, I'm going to go. I was just real with myself about it. I had a whole plan and everything. I had a binder full of just hey, mom, dad, here's my plan. If it does and if it doesn't work out, basically. So I get to the fantasy camp, and actually, funny story, I get there, and Sharmella, she's one of the people behind the counter. They thought I was there for the kids' camp. So they were like, you're here a day early. That's like tomorrow, right? I was 20 years old at the time, mind you. But I had like some twists in my hair, and I had like a ponytail. hell. And so I guess I looked like a kid at the time. And I was like, no, like, I'm here for the fantasy camp. Like, I'm here to wrestle or whatever. And when we first started, Booker was sitting next to my mom. He was actually, like, kind of telling her, like, you know, like a lot of kids, you know, they have these dreams, these aspirations. You know, sometimes they need to wait till they get a little older. And then out of nowhere, like, boom, I was doing everything the trainers were saying. Like, I was just getting all my points. And then it went from, like, you know, kids have dreams to, we like her, like, you need to get that right now. And I was like, yeah, Booker likes me. So me and him and Terrell, we created a very close bond from like day one. And I still have a very close personal relationship with them. And learning from him is an experience. It's a wonderful experience. And the reason I love learning from him is because what he tells you to do and what not to do, he does in his actual matches. Like, he can pull up a match and say, okay, I did this and this is why, or hey, I did this, it looked terrible, and don't do it, and this is why. And so it's not like he's just giving you advice and it's like, okay, go do it, and he leads off somewhere. It's like, no, he's literally showing you and telling you, like, why something will and won't work. And he's so dramatic with it. Like, what you see on TV, that is Booker T. That is not a character, that is him. He'll start off real slow, and it's like, okay, when you got the headlock, and you're doing this, you're working that out, and you're like, you got it, and like, you got it, shaking, in the track. We're like, Booker, what does that mean?
Oh,
and he has something, I deem it, I coined it Booklish, because it is Booker's English. So sometimes you understand it, sometimes you don't, but, you know, he always gets his point across, and you always come out a better wrestler or performer because of it. So I love learning from him because he literally teaches you from his soul. Like, he really gets into it. Some matches he gets really emotional about, you know. And so that's just something that you can't pay for anywhere else. Like, it's just to have someone who's really into their craft and they really still have that emotion as if they're still wrestling right now. Like, that's just something you can't buy. And I'm just so very fortunate that I had that and still have that. You know, I still call him up sometimes like, Booker, I don't understand what I'm doing. Help me out. You know, he can break it down and you make what I thought was the hardest question ever, he'll make it so simple. And so that's why I love working with him.
yes. Booker T and Queen Charmel, two of the greatest of all times. All right, so let's see. Throughout your career, you've had some pretty notable opponents, including Nyla Rose, Legit Layla Hirsch, Toni Storm, Mercedes Martinez, and so many more. What's the process for you of preparing for a big matchup like that?
So for a big match, the number one thing I have to do is clear my head first, because I will overthink it. Like, if you tell me it's March now. It's March 20th, right? So if you tell me I have a match coming up like October, I'll start thinking about it now. And so I've had to learn to calm that down. Like, just, you know, coming up the week of especially, up my cardio because I want to be in the best shape possible. I always study the film of the opponent that I'm wrestling because, like, if they have a big move, I want to figure out, like, how can I counter that? How can I get out of that? How can I, but especially like someone like Nyla, I don't want her to grab me, of course. Yeah. I don't want her to have any parts of me, you know, to toss me around. So I'll study her and I'll study her feeling like, okay, she does this cannonball thing in the corner. If I see that coming towards me, I need to move out of the way or whatever. So I just study their moves and I try to figure out ways to counter it, clear my head, meditate. The day of my matches, I do meditation and just a lot of stretching and just listening to music. Talk to my family, you know, just kind of, I try to be in the moment, you know, and just let it come as it goes, you know, because I used to just be so picked up and literally think about the match months beforehand, and now I'm starting to get into a process where, you know what, the week of, just relax, work on my cardio, study my opponents, look back on some things that I haven't done for a while. I'm like, oh, let me look at some of my older matches. Maybe I need to break this move out again, you know what I mean? So that's basically my process for any match coming up, but the big ones, I really sit there and just study the opponent for as long as I can.
Awesome.
I'm glad you asked that because that almost didn't happen. I'm going to tell you a short little story why. So it was Monday. It was a Monday when it had to be February 7th then. It was a Monday when I got an email from Sean Dean. But I had been running and ripping that whole day, so I hadn't even looked at my phone. So he sent the email around like 8 o'clock, I think, that night. And I didn't see it around like 11:30 midnight. So I was like, I don't want to reply that late, so I'll just wait until the next morning. So that Tuesday, I reply, and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm probably not going to hear from from anybody for like another week or two. You know what I mean? They're like, we're interested. He's like, we're interested in bringing you in, you know, and just want to know if they're good to go. I'm like, yeah. So he replies back a few hours later, and he's like, all right, great, we want you for this TV tape. He didn't say TV tape, he said taping. And so my first thought was like, oh, okay, great. I'm either going to be able to do elevation or I'm just going to do dark, you know, like, so that's where my mind went. I wasn't thinking Rampage, and I sure wasn't thinking Dynamite, like, at all. And so we're talking, and then he replied back, and he's like, he said, this is for tomorrow. So I'm thinking I'm leaving Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
I didn't know. You know how you stare at something for a while over and over again? You're just like, something's not right.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at the date of the ticket. And then it was like maybe 10 minutes later that it hit me, and I was like, oh, that's today. Like, they want me to fly today.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle of a family emergency at that time, so I could not leave that Tuesday. And the flight was literally like 3 hours away.
Oh,
like, so I call up, like Bryce Remsburg. I'm like, hey, like, I'm sorry, I'm in a panic. I need you to help me. I'm like, I can't do this right now. I can't come. He's like, oh, no, it's all right. We'll figure something out. We'll get you there. And so I get there Wednesday, and like the suspense is just killing me because by the time I get to the arena, I've already been put in like 3 different group chats. One's about theme music, and one's about a video package, and then the other one's like, hey, AQA is making her in-ring debut. And I'm just like, in-ring debut? But I'm somehow like, but man, they really want you to feel like superstars. Like when you first, I'm like, oh, way to go, AEW. We get theme music, we get a video package. Like, I'm like, this is great. But the back of my head, something's still going like, pew. Like, you know, just sticking to me. And I'm like, this suspense is killing me. So finally, I catch up to Sean D, and I'm like, hey, Sean, you gotta tell me something. Like, what's going on? My anxiety's gonna go, like, berserk. And I think he knew, but he played it off. He was like, I think, you know, you might be wrestling Jay tonight. Like, he played it off like that. You know, like, he didn't know. And so I was like, oh, okay, but my mind still didn't go to Dynamite. It just went to like, okay, we're gonna do Rampage, you know, and like, it's probably gonna be like a quick little match and come in there and just go pick me up and just toss me around. I'm just happy for the opportunity, you know. I can get to get my name out there a little bit. I'm still not thinking Dynamite at all. So go to the locker room, and all the other girls are like kind of discussing like who they're wrestling tonight. And I get asked, like, who are you wrestling tonight? And I said, well, I think I'm wrestling Jay, but I'm not sure, and I don't know what I'm wrestling on, like elevation or anything like that. And then one girl told me, she was like, oh, well, Jay doesn't know who she's wrestling tonight, but she knows she's wrestling on Dynamite. So you're wrestling on Dynamite. And so immediately I'm like, I was like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me my first match in 7 months is going to be on live television against one of the champions? So, like, shock. That was what I would say my whole feeling was, just shock the whole day. Good shock and good nerves, but definitely just shock is how I would describe it because I just wasn't expecting all of that. And I should have went up to Sean and, like, pulled his ear or something, be like, hey, you didn't tell me about this. But yeah, like it was that, and she was absolutely wonderful and one of the most sweetest, kindest people I've ever met, and the entire AEW family really, and I say family with like that's a true word, like it's a family that my first day I felt like I knew everybody, like even the security guards I felt like I had known them my whole life. We're just sitting there talking and chilling, so it put me at ease. It made me really comfortable, but I was also nervous because I was like, oh, this is my first match in 7 months. It's on national television, and it's champion. One of the champions, and I was like, I don't want to make her look bad, and I don't want to look bad either. So, you know, I had some nerves going into that. But walking through the curtain and just coming out, even though I knew that no one knew me, it just felt right, you know. And I felt at ease. Like, all the nerves usually leave me as soon as I walk near the curtain. And so it was just like, I was looking around, I remember I got spun around, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this is where I need to be. And I just started talking a little smack to the camera, you know, I was just trying to get into it. And came from the back, and Tony, he was really happy about everything. He high-fived me and hugged me, which shocked me because I had read something like, maybe a month prior, there was like, he's big on just fist bumping, you know. And so I was like, oh, I got a hug, and I got 2 high fives. I was like, yeah, like, let's go. Like, you know, so it boosted my confidence up a lot. And so it was a really good day. It was a really good day, and I'm very happy to be a part of a really great company. And I'm happy to be here with them and to hopefully grow with them as well. So that was my day. That was my debut. Just full of shock and good nerves.
Yes, trust me, from an outside perspective, the match was incredible. I was watching, I was like, oh my gosh, had me on the edge of my seat. God. So, speaking of AEW, you're still kind of on your way in. Are there any dream opponents that you have, either in AEW, outside of AEW, anything?
Honestly, I want to wrestle everyone on the women's roster. There's so much talent on the AEW's women's roster, and I want to be able to go against everyone if I get the chance to. But the end goal that I have in AEW, of course, is the end goal that everyone has, that to hold a championship. So I would love to hold either the main championship or the TBS championship, or both at some point, like...
Yeah, there you go.
Together, like, maybe one day I start off as TBS champion, and then I go on and I win the women's championship. That's the end goal, but I've always been a person who I've had every single detail of my life, like, just planned out. Just, like, I'm going to do this way, and blah, 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 blah. And within, like, the last year and a half, I realized, like, life isn't like that. You can't have it planned to a T no matter how much you want to. So the end goal is just to hopefully hold one of the championships, but until then, I just want to work on my craft. I want to get better, continue watching film, studying my opponents, just to see how I can better my game, and just enjoy the ride, honestly. I want to, for the first time in my life, sit back and just enjoy the ride. And not in a way of, like, sit back and wait for someone to tell me what to do. No, not like that, but just, like, enjoy things as they come. I've always tried to control the moment. I just want to live in the moment now. So that's really the plans that I have for AEW, just that hopefully I continue to get better, learn more, grow. We have Dustin Rose, we have Willie Regal.
Yeah.
We have all of these amazing teachers that are there, everyone backstage helping, like Hardy Boys. I can ask them, hey, how can I up my game? Because you guys are huge influences on me. So, like, how can I get better? It's just this multitude of just knowledge walking around backstage. And so I just want to be able to take, I just want to be able to take, that opportunity and learn as much as I can from them. So that's really my plan going forward. Just enjoy the ride, learn what I can, and then hopefully at the end of this ride, get a championship.
Amazing. Well, that is all my questions I have for you, except I do have one question off the record. What would you give advice to someone like me who's kind of looking into going into a wrestling school? I'm still kind of trying to figure out which one's right for me, and it's a little tricky. So what would you say is a good starting point? And just any advice, I'll take it like a sponge. Just anything you have.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, it could help someone else. So, like, I don't know if you and John talked about it, but like, it doesn't have to be awkward. But I can let me rewind so
You're
I
all
can come
good.
in like just ask me a question. My advice to anyone trying to get into wrestling would be, first, you have to find a good school. And what I mean by a good school, not just because a school has a name, just because it has a big name to it doesn't always necessarily guarantee that you're going to be successful. You also have to watch the pricing. If it's one thing that Booker taught me is, like, if someone's charging you thousands of dollars and there's a graduation program at the end of it, kind of cut your losses. And this is also something that I talked to you about too, because you can't graduate from wrestling, and there's no set time frame for learning wrestling. I'm coming into my 5th year, and I'm still learning things that I had no idea about. So there's no time frame, there's no graduation. It's just only getting better. And also watch the curriculum. Like, what are they teaching you from the beginning? If you know how to do a 450 before you know how to do a proper headlock, then you need to go. You know what I mean? If you're not learning your basics and your fundamentals first, you need to go. It's all about, like, the first thing you should learn up is a proper lockup/tie-up. That's the first thing you should learn. And then after that, you get into the headlocks and the wrist locks and, hammer lock, all of that type of stuff. You get into that later. And then eventually, once they get you with those type of basics, then they'll start pumping you and then, getting your footwork ready. Like, if you're not learning in that order, if you know everything else before you know those things, cut your losses. You know what I mean? You need to go ahead and get out of there now. And like I said, there are some in this school that will have a big name, like Booker's has a big name, but his school isn't expensive. His school is like $150 a month. That's a great price, especially if you learn from a 2-time Hall of Famer. You know, whereas someone who's probably only been with it for 10 years, they're charging you like $7,000 for 6 months. run.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the song, run.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. That's what you
Yeah.
I want you to think of that every time a red flag that I just told you pops up. I want that theme song to come in your head and I want you to take it.
Yeah.
But no, it's in the person or the person, they have to truly care and love what they're doing because I'll be honest with you, wrestling is hard some days. Some days you don't want to do it. Even at the level I'm at now, there are some days where I'm like, can I still do this? Or do I want to still do this? And you have to be able to have a motivation both within yourself and with the people and environment around you who are going to continue to push you and make you want to be a part of that. If you have a trainer that cares more about how they can rib you and joke on you than about like, hey, let's fix this way that you bump or let's fix your body slam because you're going to land on your neck, then, you know, you got to weigh, you know, your options there. So my advice would definitely be just find a place that is affordable, find a place where they're teaching you the basics and fundamentals right off the bat, and find a place where the environment is loving and caring. They're hard on you. They're going to motivate you. They're going to push you, but they're loving and caring. Like, there's no person, like, there's no one in row at Reality of Wrestling that I can't go to and be like, I'm dealing with this right now. Can you help me? And they all would run together and try to help me and vice versa. You know what? You need to find some place that's family oriented. You're not always going to find that, but if you can, lock on to that.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'm currently looking at Arizona Wrestling Federation. I don't know if you've ever heard of them before. I think they're a little bit of a smaller school in Arizona. And then I'm also taking a trip out to Dallas area for WrestleMania, of course, and then also all the mini events that will be happening. So super excited about that. I know Athena has a gym out there, and then of course Reality of Wrestling. Looking at both of those also. So yes.
I'm trained at Athena's. You will. She got working out.
I believe it.
You're going to leave her gym feeling like a wrestler. So, like, you know, she's definitely going to work you. It's going to be great. And she has, like, promo classes and everything, like, right off the bat. So you might do that, like, your first day, you know. So those are definitely great places. I haven't heard of the place you're talking about, but like I said, just make sure that you know, check out those buses. And sometimes you have to start where you have to start. So even if you start somewhere and it isn't, like, the most ideal place, just try to learn as much basic and fundamentals as you can from them, and then go somewhere else that, you know, can lift you up and make you go better and higher.
Awesome. That is amazing advice. Couldn't say thank you enough. And that is all I have for you today.
Oh, thank you. I had a great time.
Yes, I had a great time also. All right. And then do you guys need any copies of the documentary or any links when it comes out? I was telling, sorry, I forget his name, John, a little bit, that it should be coming out, I believe it's April 15th is when it should be final and produced, everything.
Tax day.
Yes, right? But do you guys need any copies?
Yeah, I mean, definitely when it comes out, we'd love to see. Obviously, I'm sure, Angela, you'd love to take a look at the interview and watch the doc. So yeah, Ryan or Brian, whenever it goes live, would be great.
Awesome, sounds good. I will get that to you guys then.
And then if you're going to use any like